this British doctor was he dared enough to give vitamin. Sorry, it was basically intravenous hydrogen peroxide injections, and he has done a marvelous work in. There was a he could save thousands of people. So I still believe that we by just following maybe we'll be discussing on coming things and all that. And we are here, not here to discuss about. See, the best things should go first. That's my thing, as such. And the patient is always a kind of thing. We need that empathy from our side, and we need people to come out and definitely support. You can ask Sudha. We have different. We have Digambar is going to share his experiences. Dr. C. Prasad is here. Thank you for coming, sir. And Karuna, we are so keen. If you can take up this process, and if you whatever you can note about this particular thing, we have definitely we have got some good things in our kind of when we work ACEs we have got, and we believe this can be used, and there is no side effects and all that. And certainly, I think and this is the setting which we had discussed with Karuna Gopalji, and she has, in fact, she has been involved with all for the last 20 years. She knows what are the kind of things we are doing in our integrative protocols and integrative medicine, and she understands what is toxicity and all that. Because of her only, we were able to start this program called Toxicity in the City, and there were this is a good sort of initiative we have started. It all goes because she supported totally, and we were talking about things, and we started getting along with a lot of like-minded doctors. Karuna, we are a group of around 200 and plus doctors in and around India, and this is what with this brief, I think I need to ask, because this is not going to be a one-man show. We want everyone. This is a brainstorming session. If someone is not able to ask any question and all that, please put in the chat, and we'll start our thing with Saji, who is doing he's a scientist basically. And Saji, you take over, man.
Am I audible?
Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yes. Namaskar and good evening, everyone. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Saji Kesam, a postgraduate electrical and electronics engineer by qualification, and also a scientist by profession, working since 1986 with the Indian Space Research Organization, popularly known as ISRO. Also, I hold a fellowship in nutritional and environmental medicine, FINAM in short. This is a very important meeting for all of us here, and also considered, according to us, to be a very vital one for the common man in our country too. As you are aware, we have submitted a representation to Director General of Indian Council for Medical Research, ICMR, and to the Secretary, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare Department, proposing a protocol involving vitamin C, vitamin D3, and melatonin as a sustainable, cost-effective, and a viable alternative in controlling and combating COVID-19 pandemic. This protocol was submitted to ICMR on 2nd November with the support of more than 25 scientific articles and studies conducted worldwide. Many successful treatments done abroad are also cited in the representation. We are yet to get a response from them. In the meantime, as suggested by Dr. Praveen Saxena, I had an opportunity to talk with an eminent as well as a prominent person in the country who is also a medically aware citizen and who had been following integrative medicine since last 2 decades. I need long time even just to glance through her biodata. Moreover, she needs no introduction. She has offered her wholehearted support to our initiative in getting the proposed protocol approved by ICMR and other agencies, as she herself feels as it's an important need of the hour for the benefit of the society. Without taking much time, let us wholeheartedly welcome Ms. Karuna Gopal to this important meeting. I landed in the field of integrative medicine in the year 2010 to save myself from many ailments that I was suffering for decades. I could make it possible only because of one person who is considered as the father of integrative medicine in India and also the founder president of Indian Nutritional Medical Association and personally my mentor too in this field. It is none other than Dr. S. Srikumar, whom I would like to extend a very warm welcome to this session. Also, I extend a very hearty welcome to all doctor friends, scientists, and other dignitaries in our group and others joining us with us today. This meeting is arranged exclusively to brief Ms. Karuna Gopal the contents of the proposed protocol and its effectiveness, and to share all the experience of the doctors with COVID-19 treatment within our country so that she could confidently escalate to the higher levels concerned. Landing on moon in 1969, Neil Armstrong said, I quote, "That's a small step for man, but it's a giant leap for mankind," unquote. Today's meeting with Ms. Aruna Gopal, I am sure is going to be a big step for us to achieve a huge step forward in integrative medicine in our country. With these few words, I request Dr. Praveen Saxena to briefly present the contents of the protocol. Thank you very much. Over to you, Saxena, please.
Yeah, Saji, I have already spoken about that. What will we talk? The program will go like this. We want to. It's again an interactive. It should be interactive thing, and we want Dr. Digambar, Dr. Lalit, Dr. Lenny. They'll be sharing some of their things what they have done during this pandemic, and yes, it goes needless to say, and we believe that we have got the potential to definitely it's not just trying to there are such a case studies we have got the people see as a doctor we never had the liberty in Telangana this kind of thing because our clinics are small clinics and we don't have that COVID facility. But what happened recently over a past 3-4 months, people who you had COVID negative, and they used to come to us. And the moment I do a CT scan and I know the HSCRP and all that, we were really surprised. There is all the cases who are positive. There are 3 to 4 persons for every case, which shows inapparently negative, but they have got this COVID some or the other time. So we started our protocol. We had opened our gates, started working in a kind of setting as such. And I just want people to share their particular things. And I can start with none other than Digambar Nayak. He's a cardiologist, and he went through what are the things he went through. Dr. Sab, we want to listen from you, sir. With your this one, it should be a kind of people should get enthused about this your thing, and it's good to see you smiling back, sir. Huh?
Thank you, Dr. Saxena. Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me into this meeting and sharing what I would say is one of the most important exposure that I had. Just for the sake of others, I have been working as a senior cardiometabolic physician into the state of Goa. That means I know my medicine pretty well. And I entered medical science in 1975. Till that time, I remember every day either I'm studying, I'm lecturing, or I'm researching, or I'm treating my patient. I've been very, very active all through till today in my practice.
Even when we met last time, I remember you telling me I'm still a student.
I'm still a student. My tables are filled with the books. In the morning, I have a different OPD. And the evening, I still study, sit down and study, sitting in my study room. Now I'm in my study room. I'm not in my hospital. So, and in fact, I have gone through the various phases of medicine, right from 1985 to now. You can imagine how the medicine has gone through. And in fact, I've been labeled as one of the 50 pathfinders of the Indian healthcare industry, along with doyens like Pratap Reddy, Devi Shetty, Naresh Trehan, and Dr. Pai, the original Pai of the Manipal Empire. So that has been my exposure, that has been my situation. So I do understand my situation, my medicine pretty well. And in spite of, and I've been right from the beginning, I've been talking about COVID, I've been studying about COVID, I've been treating patients about COVID, and I've been managing. Our clinic has been managed in the most professional way, and nobody in my clinic has developed COVID. It was just one of my philanthropic trip to some friend that I landed up into this problem, which I call it a simple accident. Well, I landed up. And when I on the second day itself, I knew when we realized that somebody in their family is positive. I said we are also. I'm in a little bit of problem, but I was already taking HCQ and ivermectin as a preventive dose. But still, on the fourth day of this exposure, I developed little fever, and I started myself on a initial complete treatment with full HCQ, ivermectin, and all other things, anticoagulation, and everything else. But exactly 5 days after this, when I was just sitting in the evening, I developed a little bit of breathlessness. Went to see my SpO2, it was 85. I took my oxygenator, which was there in my house, which I was ready for it, and started. And slowly, I realized I'm needing, my oxygen requirement is rising. Then I knew something is wrong with me. I need a hospital support. And that's exactly when I phoned up my physician colleagues, and they said, and they pulled me into the hospital. We immediately started with the methylprednisolone and the whole remdesivir and the whole long, very next day, I got some convalescent plasma also, very next day. So that was the 8th day of my developing symptoms. And this happened, and we were treating 1 day in the hospital, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days in the hospital. Then I realized what was happening is I was worsening. Every day I'm worsening from all the frontiers. I'm not feeling good. I'm not able to get up freely. I am breathless. My SpO2 is not rising. So definitely I knew I've been involved at more than one part, because my chest of involvement was only 10 by 25 by CT scan. So I knew I had more than one part involvement, and I'm 65. Okay, so obviously these parts involvement could be definitely there. So this is what happened, and I knew I was bad, and everybody, my whole team was worried now. So we were discussing, planning. They are sitting with me. I had a nice team too who looked after me. I had a nice hospital which looked after me. They were all involved in my treatment. My CM used to, and HM used to phone up the hospital every day to find how am I feeling. And at this stage, then I was also in touch with my other teams outside, Dr. Leni, Dr. Anande. First 2 days, Dr. Leni Anande said that tell them to start vitamin C in a high dose. They didn't listen to. Finally, Leni told me, you are dying if you don't start vitamin C. At that time, Dr. Anande spoke to my team, and he initially tried to convince them, and he blankly told them, you please start vitamin C in this dose, this protocol to Dr. Naik. I will sign for it, or I'll ask Dr. Naik to sign for it. You don't have to worry about what happens to it. We will take that responsibility. And then Dr. Leni, Goa did not have this type of vitamin C in our market, because no one ever used it. My team was never aware about this. They said ICMR protocol. For ICMR protocol, maximum high dose is 1.5 grams. So then finally we decided, the team decided, that they took my consent and then said we will start. At 8 o'clock, it was almost 9th day, 7, 8, 9, 10th day. At 8 o'clock, I was bad. 8 o'clock, we started with vitamin C, 25 grams. Okay. along with glutathione. Second dose was at 2 a.m. in the morning, and the third dose was 8 a.m. in the next morning. By the time third dose was going, I could feel myself, I was improving. And I said, yes, I am improving. And that's exactly what happened. And from then onwards, I had no problem. I took it only for 5 days. Okay. And then I left for home, and every day I was improving. And my steroid, initially I started with 40 milligrams of methylprednisolone. On the second or third, they said this was raised to 120 milligram 8 hourly. Such a toxic dose of steroid I took. My muscle degenerated almost. My weight was reduced. In that 15 days, I lost 8 kilos of weight. My thyroid stopped working. Practically, I knew I was going. So that was the situation. That was the dramatic change which occurred. I had also not used vitamin C in this dose prior to this. This is what convinced me so thoroughly. And that is what made me write down. I said, let people know my COVID story in short. And I wrote the lessons out of it at every step. What are the lessons we have to learn? So this has taught me a lot of things, though I was studying COVID right from the beginning. This, my hospitalization gave me a different time, absolutely a different insight into the sickness. And that's exactly what I want the country to take over. After my few write-ups, I've got more than 100 calls. And some people have started using it. Some people have already shown good results. Till now, I don't think anybody who's come and told me we are not getting the result that you have promised. And that's exactly what is happening.
It's a commendable thing.
With my knowledge, with my understanding of medicine, I would blankly say this is the best thing that we have in our hands today to fight a disease like COVID. And I would repeat here for the sake of politicians, no person with COVID should die.
Yeah.
And yes. I'm committed to this statement of mine. Nobody should die. I'll make a small write-up also where people tend to lose their life. And if we take care of those 4 or 5 things, nobody with COVID should die. India can have a zero COVID death. We can have it. All that we need is that understanding and little bit of commitment.
Karuna, we need to felicitate the kind of person he's he. I have been knowing for some years now, Dr. Digambar, and he treats all his patients. When he told me he has a lot of girlfriends, I was really surprised what he is talking about. Then he said, all my girlfriends are about 90 years old. And that was like, Dr. Digambar, we wish you more girlfriends and all that. And I'd like to call Dr. Lalit
Can I comment once? Dr. Saxena?
Yeah, please, Karuna, please come.
Yeah, first of all, thank you very much for having me over. What an insightful narration you gave, Dr. Digambar Nayak. Amazing. I only hope that the entire nation listens to this. Today, the kind of faith deficit, let me call trust deficit that they have in alternative systems is so high that nothing seems to be accepted, prima facie without some empirical evidence. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah, please go ahead.
We can.
So nothing is being accepted without having a huge empirical proof. But you yourself being a doctor, and you have not been dogmatic at all. You have accepted a protocol that was suggested by your colleagues, and now you are a testimony to this particular treatment. And so going forward, we're just trying to strategize how this message is going to reach the key people who are decision makers, who will perhaps take the right decision to ensure that it reaches masses. And very rightly, you said that nobody should die because of COVID.
Absolutely, we have the ability to do that.
Exactly.
Ma'am, can I just interject? There is enough empirical evidence that vitamin C works in any kind of sepsis. The reason it is not being used is because nobody can make money on it.
Absolutely.
If you use vitamin C, there would be no sale for remdesivir or any of the other things that they're trying to sell. This is
Yeah.
this is a problem of. I've been using vitamin C for the last 10 years for various patients. I had used it in Jeslock, Bombay for sepsis. When was it used? When I was called up and said, "Hey, this is a patient. He's a VIP. He needs to be saved. Otherwise, we'll be in trouble." Nobody said they used vitamin C. I gave my stock of vitamin C. So I know how people behave when it comes to the medical establishment. I've been part of that
Karuna, one
medical
small
establishment
correction.
for years.
Karuna, one small correction. Vitamin C is not an alternate thing. It's a mainstream. It's a mainstream.
It is a main nutritional, let's
Absolutely.
No,
Absolutely.
ma'am, there is enough evidence that there are studies.
complementary. Let's say it's not even alternative, but simple things like from let me give a layman perspective here. Allopathic doctors historically, from my experience, have not believed in nutritional, support. So it's just now perhaps a lot of that is being done. So so I stand corrected that it may not be an alternative thing. It's it's something that has worked historically, and I think we will have to take it forward. It's just that you have to make a very strong case. You have to make a very strong case for it and have very loud voices like Dr. Nayak, and maybe a whole bunch of others who know that this works and have not so far taken a step forward to share it perhaps in a extensive way. So one is, let's build more credibility and more support and take it to the right people, and let's see if this can be incorporated into the treatment protocol at a national level.
Madam,
Lalit,
can I say
you need to
something?
unmute
Can I say
yourself.
something?
Lalit,
Can I
next
say
is you,
something?
Lalit. Yeah, please.
Yeah, there is sufficient credibility to this. It is a plain, simple vitamin. It costs least to the people, and it saves lives, and people can be all right without spending 4 or 5 lakhs that all of us keep on spending into these hospitals because of COVID today. All of us are spending 4 or 5 lakhs. I have spent 5 lakhs. We don't have to do that.
Yeah.
And we can save every life. That's what matters.
Lalit, it's your turn now.
Yeah, I'm really glad that Dr. Digambar Naik said that we can save every life. Not one person from my country should have died from this kind of disease. What is going around? I have seen pathetic conditions. The way people have gone through the entire pain of being breathless on a ventilator. Then the relatives could not approach them. It was massive. It was very, very painful. I remember myself in an ICU when I lost my patients with my PPE kit, with my head on the floor and my knees on the floor. I was crying like a baby. What the hell is going on? In fact, I am so used to giving vitamin C in TB patients who have a similar kind of picture, the X-ray picture, the symptoms, and all those kind of things. And it was really miraculous that this word called antioxidants came into the help of many people. My hospital, I am so blessed. Why I'm not in a private setup. My hospital is somewhere people bring their relatives to die. When they die, in fact, they say thank you. Hum chhoot gaye, wo bhi chhoot gaya. So it was that kind of scenario where we started using this kind of things where we have never been taught in the medical career something like free radicals, the oxidative stress, and all those kind of things. And it gave me an opportunity to learn all these things. And there is nothing alternative about it. It is all there in the market. It is all there, which was taught to us. Only thing, the dosing was inappropriate, which was told to us. The dosing, when we changed on to give the best of the best effect, we came to know that the real dosing is something different. And when we started using in that kind of dosing, there is nothing called mega dosing or high dose or something like that. And it was told by many. And they want a trial to be. Who's stopping anybody from doing a trial? It is there. It is there to save lives over there. ICMR can take it up and do a trial with themselves. In fact, you don't even require to do a trial. You just type vitamin C on Google, on not on an Android phone, but on the PC, and antioxidant, TB, COVID, millions and millions of paper are coming. And this thing was there since 1935. People knew about it for polio things what were being used. I mean, Dr. Frederick Klenner was documenting everything, 100% results in 3 days flat, even people coming with flaccid an RNA virus. There are so many things under one umbrella that vitamin C works. In fact, I'm dead sure if we bring these things into the practices, our health budget, which we are so much, affected by, the government is affected. How can we go on increasing the health budget, because there are so many things to be done. It will come down by 50-80% if you start using this in a proper way. COVID, I know nobody should have died, and I agree fully about all these things. We should use very simple things like vitamin C, vitamin D, melatonin. What are these? These are nothing like. We have newer drugs, remdesivir, tocilizumab, and my contacts with the intensivist in the government hospitals here and there. When I was talking over there, they said, "My God, the kind of adverse reaction, we are not getting the kind of results what was imbibed in her. That this is a miracle kind of things." All those things, antivirals and all those things. I never used this thing. Not a single vial of remdesivir, not a single vial of tocilizumab. Never gave plasma something. In fact, my hospital is poor man's this thing. They can't afford. I know that. And we went on with this thing because of past experience, and the results were really good. I think if ICMR wants to do, they should do a trial. They should prove it to the world that India, my country, has done something like this. I was, stunned when I came to know just a week back or so, a country in shambles, Pakistan, did a good randomized clinical trial on honey and kalonji and all these things, and they had done it on a seriously. I am really stunned. A country like Italy, how small Italy is, how what is the population of Italy? They did the autopsies, and we were just covering the bodies and throwing it away. And the kind of scenario which has happened, the pains the patient went through, it is, I mean, this is a part of science. We lost it, all those kind of things. And there is entire science to all these things what we are talking about. It is not new game. This was never invented by any of us. It was never discovered by any of us. It was already there in front of us. And in fact, when we say none of them should die, in fact, we made them die. This is murder. This is murder because we actually had it in front and never used it. We had to just tell it to people. I request you, madam, with folded hands, do something, save up countrymen's lives. Thank you.
Can I ask
Yeah,
one
yeah,
question?
it is Lalit. It was amazing thing. Karuna, you'd like to add something?
Yeah, one
Because
question.
next time I'm
Yeah,
going to call someone. Next time I'm going to call someone. He's Dr. Venugopal Gauri, and he's a homeopath, and he has integrated vitamin C, vitamin D, as well as melatonin in his protocol. And this is what I believed was the kind of the numbers what he has shown, and no one has gone into a ICU. That was the thing. Karuna,
one question.
Venugopal Gauri ji, next.
Yeah. One question here. I just want to ask you, why is there so much resistance to using vitamin C? I heard stories where you spoke to the hospitals, you spoke to doctors, and they were resisting, these higher doses. I mean, is there some kind of a toxicity involved, or is there what is the reason why they said no to vitamin C?
Should I dare to
Karuna,
answer this question?
what I can tell you is one thing. According to ICMR protocol, it is up to the upper limit is 1.5 grams. And
Yeah.
in India, we don't get vitamin C at higher doses here as such. So whatever our books, pharmacopoeia, they have written, this is, they just go up to 1.5. That's it. I'm at least happy they have started using 1.5 at least. I'm still happy for that.
Praveen, there's
Doctor-
one thing. It is not because of that. Ma'am, the reason why vitamin C is not being used is because modern medicine practices not by what is there on textbooks or what is taught by medicine. They practice by what are the recommendations that are made by organizations of doctors. So if this is the protocol that has been recommended, we follow that protocol. If we don't follow that protocol, we can be sued for malpractice. That is the issue.
Okay.
So when I use vitamin C in that large doses, I have to have an informed consent of the patient, where the patient signs that I may die with this and I'm okay to take it. So unless I take that informed consent, I can't do it. So most doctors don't want to get into that.
Okay, so now I get the picture now. So yeah, I get the picture now. So it's a risky proposition, especially looking at it from your side. And the doctors don't have it in the basic treatment protocol. Okay,
Exactly.
okay.
And when I do it for my patients, I take this
Important.
consent, saying that, you know, something bad has happened. It's not my fault.
Okay.
I take
okay.
it. I explain to this patient. And Praveen, after your next guest, I'd like to also speak about what happened with me and COVID. Okay.
Absolutely,
One
absolutely.
last
Maybe
question,
you can,
Dr. Saxena. Doctor.
yeah,
Dr. Saxena,
yeah,
is this being recorded?
yeah. It is being
Yes.
recorded.
Okay. Okay, that's important. That's important. Okay. Please go ahead.
Venugopal Gauri, Dr. Venugopal.
Sir, namaskar.
Namaskar, namaskar. You are looking handsome, man, with the mushes, without mushes. Brief, yeah, brief. Because you handled a much number of cases which when all of us couldn't do that because of some practical reasons. Please, we want to listen to you, your experience
Sir.
and any message.
Namaskar to Dr. Saxena ji and Mrs. Karna Gopal ma'am, Dr. Saji, and great physicians like Dr. Anande who are here, Dr. Divyambar Naik ji, Dr. Alak Chopra ji. A very warm greetings to you, sir. It has been an honor for a homeopath like me who has been in practice for 25 years. And I will say this year has been really wonderful for a practitioner because it's been a great challenge. And I think these are the days we have to live for, because and this is the ultimate challenge as far as any clinician is concerned. And right from day one, thanks to Dr. Saxena Bhai, Praveen Bhai, I used to trouble him, you play Kaun Banega Karorpati, you can only dial a friend once. But when you practice homeopathy, you can dial a friend any number of times. And this good friend, Dr. Saxena, is always available for you and giving you the best of advice. And thanks to his beautiful group, integrative medicine group, we've also been learning about various things that were happening in the West before this problem reached our shores, and how they were able to handle the situation, or how they were failing, as a matter of fact. So what we did was, with our young group of practitioners, we had a discussion of what are the best homeopathic remedies that can be of help in such situations. And meanwhile, when you call as supplements or in whichever amount of doses, there is no caste or creed or religion or system of medicine associated with it. It's just a supplement, and it has its peculiar and special role, significant role in some situations. So that's how when we requested Dr. Saxena to give his advice, he advised us about melatonin and vitamin C and vitamin D. And
Sound problem.
right from the lockdown time, we have been giving, along with our homeopathic preventive medicine, the supplements of vitamin C, D, and zinc, as a matter of fact. And when this problem started, and when our cases started to roll in, we started giving our homeopathic medicines and also the supplements. And the share ready. I request my associate, Dr. Ramya, to just share one slide. Then I'll use it. So as you could see, sir, the number of people who needed admission for that matter. Of course, we were taking only mild to moderate cases, and where the oxygen saturation was not below 90. And our aim was to see that the patient does not go into the next stage of illness, whichever he came with. And we have been able to successfully abort their need to get hospitalization in a significant number of people with the help of homeopathy and these supplements. We have the record of all these people, and I request Dr. Dr. Shravya, a very young and dynamic physiotherapist in the Twin Cities of Hyderabad and Secunderabad, and for a minute she can talk about her experience with our system of medicine. And also later, after Dr. Shravya, I will request Sri Ramnarayan ji, whose mother, 93-year-old, was suffering from COVID, and she got out of it with our medication and of course supplements. And these two people, and one Prabhatji, who has probably referred to us more than 15 to 18 cases of COVID positive in this past 2 months. I request them not to take more than a minute. Dr. Shravya, please, with the permission of Mrs. Karna Gopal and Dr. Saxena ji.
Good evening to all. Thanks, Dr. Gauri and Dr. Praveen Saxena, for giving me an opportunity to share the testimonial on my COVID story. During my 13th week, I had been to an antenatal scan. Post antenatal scan, after the 3 days of my exposure, I was exposed to COVID. I had a symptoms of running nose and sneezing for 3 to 4 hours, followed with a temperature of 99 and 100 for 6-7 hours. Then the next day when I had been to the emergency in my antenatal clinic, the doctor asked me to go for a COVID test. Then immediately contacted my Dr. Gauri. So after the COVID was positive, meantime he started with the homeopathy medications and the supplements. The supplements I took was vitamin C, zinc, vitamin D, and creon. Then from that day, it was a matter of 10 hours I had symptoms, but all the 10 days of to 15 days, I never had any symptoms. There was only a partial loss of smell. That's it. But my saturation was always 97, 96. Then later, after 4 days of medications with the supplements and homeopathy, it was 98 and 99. This is what, and many people ask me, even my gynecologist, my physician, everyone asked me, do you have any fatigue, post-COVID symptoms? But I never experienced anything. I traveled this journey without any of the other issues except 10 hours of mild running nose and a temperature of 99 and 100. That's it.
It was excellent, Dr. Shravya. Yeah. And I'd just like to, Venuji will add we'll keep some of the testimonials later. I would like to ask Dr. Lenny to come up with what we had gone through that. Lenny, please.
Yeah. Good evening. Sorry, I was interjecting when many of you were speaking, but this topic of COVID has been quite kind of very, very dear to me right from the time it started. Have been talking to a lot of friends across the world, but nothing could have prepared me when first Dr. Digambar was sick and I got that message from him and we started talking. That was shocking. That was too close for us, too close to my heart, or somebody who was really sick, and we had to do something about it. A lot of my patients have been taking vitamin C, both for prophylaxis as IV. A lot of my doctor friends, people whom I work with on a regular basis, because they used to see so many patients on an OPD basis, they used to take vitamin C on a regular basis. Every week they should take 25 grams of vitamin C just for prophylaxis so that they wouldn't get it. None of them got COVID. But for me, the time when Dr. Digambar himself was in hospital and I was talking to him, I somehow contracted COVID myself. I don't know how. I can't still figure out how. I had seen patients on one day. I had seen 20 patients on that day, and then the next 3 days I was feeling lethargic. But I had a workshop that I was doing online, and I kept on doing that workshop. The only thing I had was lethargy for 1 week before a cough started, and then breathlessness. But I'd already started high dose vitamin C, and I think that was my savior. 10 days of vitamin C. My CT chest, which showed 14 by 25, and the physician treating me said, I need to hospitalize you. I said, you can't hospitalize me because then you won't give me vitamin C. I need to take it myself at home. So I kept treating myself at home, and in 10 days, exactly 10 days, 7 days after the CT, I was bereft of all symptoms that I was having, and nothing absolutely. 2 weeks later, exactly 2 weeks after the first X-ray and CT, my X-ray was clear. Now, this didn't end there. I was perfectly all right for 2 weeks after that. But what most people don't realize is many people who had problems with their lungs also have something known as a post-COVID syndrome. I never knew what a post-COVID syndrome was, but I had heard of it, and I had treated people with melatonin. I was taking melatonin myself. I was taking vitamin C myself. But I did get the post-COVID syndrome. I had severe headaches. No doctor knew what to do. 7 days. Nobody knew. I even phoned up Dr. Anand and said, don't worry, it'll pass off. It looks like a COVID syndrome. I actually then decided to go back and listen to people who had spoken on this post-COVID syndrome. And they still speak of vitamin C, melatonin. They tell you to take a small dose of your steroid back, and they tell you to take omega-3. I was doing all of it. I had not started on a steroid. Just that steroid added to that vitamin C again, and my post-COVID syndrome vanished. It took me 10 days more of steroids, but my vitamin C still goes on. Because if you need to get rid of your post-COVID syndrome, you need to carry on taking that vitamin C once or twice a week, and I'm still doing it. And that was the advice I had got from people who use vitamin C across the world. Having said this, one of the first studies that was done in COVID, specifically in COVID, double-blind study was done in Malaysia. It was not published. It is currently published. Not a single patient in that study who took vitamin C ended up dying, whereas on the control group, 70% people died. This study was done only in ICU patients. So it does work in COVID. Unfortunately, that study has not been accepted by most major journals because it is vitamin C and they don't want to publish it. I think it's been published by a scientific journal, just published. It has just come out. I happen to see it, but it is available today. And it's the first one where a double-blind study was done in a proper hospital, corporate hospital. So there is a lot of empirical data that's available, a lot of data that is available that it works, a lot of mechanism of action, how it works has also been studied and it's out there. Unfortunately, nobody wants to read it. I'm sorry to say this, nobody wants to read it. It's time that we doctors decide to employ it for our patients. That's it. We have to educate more than actually educate and go out and teach people that this works. It's only when your own person is dying and you give it, that's when people come and say that it works. Before this, it wouldn't have. Dr. Naik is a very good example of that. I'm sure he didn't think that vitamin C would have worked before he actually used it himself. Every doctor, when I used it for my parents for the first time, I didn't believe it. But when I used it and I saw it, it works. When you're taught in modern medicine teaches you in a particular way. It doesn't teach you to go and actually experiment and see what works. It teaches you that you have to follow certain norms, and that is what you need to follow. Unfortunately, that's not the way to teach patients, and this is what COVID has taught us all. I think all doctors should take this home as a lesson. Thank you.
Thanks, Lenny. Thanks, Lenny. It was very this one. Karuna, we have someone here, Dr. Sudha. She's basically an integrative physician. She has done the internal medicine boards from US. And she has started this protocol of vitamin D and all that. Already there is a study which is being happening. Sudha, why don't you share your work with Gandhi Hospital? Sudha, you need to unmute.
Sir. Yes, sir. Good evening, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Please go ahead.
Yes. Thank you so much, for everybody. This is Dr. Sudha. Yes, madam, I met you.
Sudha, can you turn your camera?
Yes. Is this okay? Okay. Sir, yeah. Sir, I want to. This is Dr. Sudha. Can you hear?
Yes.
Yes. Madam, I met you last week with Dr. Saxena and the other team.
Yes,
so
I
just
remember.
yes. So I would like to make a couple of points here. that COVID-19 is representing as an autoimmune reaction. So this is 100% autoimmune reaction, how it represents. That is the reason that the whole, because in regular allopathy of any kind of autoimmunity or autoimmune reaction, we don't have answers. So that is why people are having, a lot of doubts about it and a lot of, hesitancy in approving these protocols. It's more or more like any autoimmune disease that it represents. Because if we look at from day one, it is interfering with, with interleukin-6 and on any kind of autoimmune disease. So to start with, in allopathy, we don't have many answers for any kind of autoimmune disease. So we are a kind of integrative physicians that we have achieved successful results in our own practices in treating many autoimmune diseases. So that is the bottom line, where we can't say this is alternative or any kind of, alternative medicine. Because this is a revolutionary thing that COVID-19 is presenting as any autoimmune disease. That's why it's representing on the D-dimer and the interleukin-6 and any kind of factors that you can take. Now, why vitamin C, why vitamin D, and why melatonins are working as these are antioxidants, which works on any kind of autoimmune disease. I want to make it that a clarity here, and I can forward a lot of papers here that we are physicians who are having successful stories of our own in treating many of the common autoimmune diseases. And that's why we could see from the day one, when we could reflect these protocols as vitamin C or vitamin D or melatonin, we were confident because of our experiences of integrative medicine to any of this thing. When we said it's interfering with interleukin-6, interfering with ANA, interfering with all the kind of D-dimer, it's an autoimmune reaction. If anybody who can put all the puzzle together, it is simple. It's an autoimmune disease. It's an autoimmune reaction. Yes, it is a bad flu virus, which is presenting as an autoimmune disease. That's where we put all the puzzle together. And we said, you know what, we will do the same regular vitamin D protocol where we used as an autoimmune disease. So we, in fact, madam, we did this protocol with many doctors here in Hyderabad. The protocol is going on in Gandhi as we speak. And it is successful, and it is successful as of now. I can't release, and it is going in an ethics committee on vitamin D. Here I'm talking only on vitamin D. Yes, Dr. Nair and Dr. Lalitanand, everybody's working on vitamin C. Here we are working on vitamin D, madam. Okay. So we, in a week time, this published, double-blinded published protocol will be out of what we did in Gandhi, in vitamin D, which worked in COVID protocol, and we will share it. It is just in the last stages of publishing together, and I cannot, my hands are tied up due to the ethics committee that I cannot release the data as of today. But it's a matter of time that we are putting all this together through Nizam Institute, through Nizam doctors. We approached them. Yes, they agreed, and they took it as a challenge. Thanks to one of the doctors, Dr. Lucky Reddy, he took it as a challenge, and we did a YouTube video protocol. We did approach, and he agreed to take it through Nizam to Gandhi. And yes, the published double-blinded control study on vitamin D will be released very, very soon, in a matter of 10 days or less than 10 days, that I can share it. And it is a study, and we have successful result, and we have structured protocol about how much to give vitamin D, what to give, how to give, how much to give. Everything is published, and we have successful results. Now, how it worked, why it worked is by autoimmune reaction, where it is, and it is have published paper, will be released under Gandhi. This is what my takes, madam. If he has any more questions, I'll be very happy to answer.
Just one question. Let me congratulate you. I think getting to do that kind of a study. I have seen IIIT was trying to do a bit of a study in Gandhi, but they were not very successful because of the chaos that they found there. But if you have pushed through the agenda and you went ahead with your double-blind study, then it's a great thing. Now, one question is it a proven let's say, proven protocol for treating other autoimmune diseases like, say, a lupus or a rheumatoid arthritis, your D.
Sir, madam, we have many successful results in these. It's all over the world. It is, unfortunately, as the doctors were saying, it is very, it is affordable, it is cheap, and it is treatable. Again, it comes to the same
So I
thing
think
as
the bottom line,
Yeah.
I understand. Yeah. In fact, I don't know who it was, but they went on asking about the price of a homeopathic medication, repeatedly. So I think I get the picture. Yes.
So it's a world,
Now,
it's a global studies we are following globally. There are many doctors who are following this. It is not national, it's a global protocol. And we doctors, we follow the integrative medicine because in the autoimmune, we don't have successful results. So we have to use this and we have seen successful results. That's all I want to
yeah,
say.
Karuna, there is one more doctor, cardiologist. This is the second cardiologist who wants to share his experience from Delhi. He is none other than Alok Chopra ji.
Oh,
Doctor,
fantastic.
all yours.
Dr. Saxena.
Yeah, we have some more time, sir.
Hello.
Yeah, Alok ji, go ahead.
So what I wanted to say was that I have been practicing mostly, non-invasive cardiology for a long time. I've come into the functional medicine scene recently, and I have had, numerous help from Dr. Saxena, Dr. Lenny, and Dr. Digambar, in all these ways, and they guide us and help us in every way, every other day. I wanted to record the incidence of two patients, both who used to do that COVID test too early after a small cold or a small throat upset, and it was turning negative. Then one day, both of them in 2 consecutive days came to me or told me that the saturation is dropped to below 80. And again, in small nursing homes, not mine, I have a hospital of my own, but I am not allowed to do COVID work there. We gave them vitamin C and with great results. But what I saw was that they were not suffering from active COVID disease because the CT picture clearly showed a classical post-COVID syndromes. And, I started to differentiate between ground glassing in a CT leading to fibrosis or not fibrosis versus a reticular formation. And the response to the reticular formation in the CT responded very well to not just vitamin C, but to an NAC given IV as well as on nebulization. And, as Lenny also described and Dr. Saxena also described, very, very high doses of melatonin. So,
Yeah, we have one more doctor here, Dr. Renu Mahatani. She has done her video initially went viral, and Dr. Renu would like to share a few seconds.
Dr. Chopra, I think Dr. Chopra is still speaking, I think.
That's all right.
I thought he completed.
No, I could talk more, but this is all I wanted to convey, that because Lenny brought up the subject of post-COVID syndrome, we have tend to ignore it. In fact, one of my patients who actually got back against my advice to do over-exercising, actually died while running on a treadmill. So, this post-COVID syndrome is sometimes more sinister than the COVID because people tend to ignore it because it's all over. So I just wanted to make a point that
that's a great point.
Post-COVID syndrome will require the same thing, the same vitamin C, the same N-acetylcysteine, melatonin, all, and the injectable and nebulized NAC has worked as well. Thanks to all our friends who I mentioned.
Oh, okay, fantastic.
If Dr. Renu is around, Renu Mahatani, I think we'll go to Dr. Sri Kumar. Dr. Sri Kumar, welcome to the thing. He is the one person who has been doing nutritional medicines for so many years now. And Sri Kumar, Ananta, you are here. Ananta, you would like to share your story later on. Come on, Sri Kumar, sir. We need your expertise here because you are the person who started zinc. You are the person who started vitamin C. I think Dr. Sri Kumar introduction is he's an ENT surgeon practicing in Kochi, and he has done more of nutritional medicine than kind of stuff. He runs a big center. And Sri Kumar sir, all yours.
Yeah, good evening all. And it is I'm very happy to sit in front of all of you. And one of the most important thing, as Saxena mentioned, maybe I might have given vitamin C for more than lakh of patients, not only in India, but also in different parts of because I do go and teach in a lot of countries. So, because this has been going on for the last 18 years, as far as I'm concerned. I started this concept of wellness and nutrition and other things. And I have found it very effective, especially I know that Dr. Sudha was talking about autoimmune disease. And all these things, actually, vitamin C has got a very important role. And I know, ma'am, you have been telling about why people are resisting. So one or two things that I have to see, because when I meet with a lot of people, especially from the academic world, and also from the intellectual, so-called intellectual and maybe research-oriented people, because the clinical studies that has been done is not enough, according to them, because one of the most important thing is vitamin C is not a new molecule. It is a molecule which has been studied for, I think, more than 80 years now. And I think a couple of Nobel laureates had plenty of studies on vitamin C. And the clinical research, you cannot depend on one vitamin alone. That is why people say, even if, especially in COVID cases, you can see around more than 95% of the people are surviving, whether you give anything or not. So they say it is not the benefit of vitamin C because you are not scientifically proving it. Because one of the greatest problem is there are no scientific studies which has been mentioned with a proper intention. I think one of the most important multi-centric trial is now happening in Australia, in Melbourne, Austin Health. And I am also maybe a part of their work also. They are giving high dose of vitamin C for a multi-centric trial. And maybe it is also being done in various other countries. Maybe that can come as one of the most authentic scientific report, because you have to study from all sorts. Because one of the problem is if it is not being financed in research, you cannot do all the test pre and post and all these things, especially dimmer and all these things, if you want to analyze all the things. And I know that because in my experience in a COVID treatment, I am not treating COVID in my clinic because I am not entitled to do it, but I do manage with a lot of hospitals who has got ICU, not only in India, but also in Dubai and other countries. And I know very well because they have taken up the regime and they are doing the 0% death after starting the regime. And one of the regimes that I normally give is vitamin C high dose, maybe 50 to 100 grams a day. Wow. And also along with that, I give steroids. So without steroid, you are not going to. Then also I give zinc and chloroquine, hydroxychloroquine. So hydroxychloroquine is one of the most important thing. And we also infuse or inject vitamin D. So a combination of all these things work together. And only thing, especially because a country like India, I would say because the regime or the research has to go in intensive care unit studies or maybe in the seriously ill patient, because prevention, one of the biggest challenges, because even my colleague and friend was talking about homeopathy and all those things. People will say, because in scientific forum, they will say, even without giving a drug, maybe he will escape. So you have to prove the scientific basis of all these things. So I feel, because since I have got maybe thousands and thousands of people with other autoimmune disease, cancer, heart disease, and a lot of other diseases, which has got a very big testimonial backing up. But in COVID, I can say that because even though I am not directly involved, I have seen a lot of doctors, a lot of team, not only in India, but also in different hospitals and also abroad are doing it. So it has got a very big say in the modern and maybe in the upcoming area of, especially I am also managing post-COVID mental disease, especially with especially Lenny was talking about vitamin C and other things in the post-COVID. Because the most important area where the people are coming Even though it is pulmonary problems, it is coming, but there are lot of mental health problems coming in. So one of the most important, maybe vitamin that can be given is vitamin C. So the greatest challenge, you have asked one question, I have heard your question. Why people are against it? Why is there any risk involved? Yes, there is a risk involved, especially when you give high dose of vitamin C. There can be renal stone and other formation. But it is especially because, and if you want to, we know how to prevent it. So only thing, being a doctor who can, who is licensed to prescribe all the toxic chemicals to a patient, it is not tough how to manage cases with nutrition or nutrients. The only thing is that you have to understand high dose, there are side effects. You have to look after the kidney and liver, and you have to support these organs also along with your management. And there are plenty of solutions to prevent, especially when you are giving, when I am giving it for long-term duration, more than 10 days or 15 days of high dose vitamin C. I am resorting to protect kidney and other organs with other minerals and other nutrients. And it is an integrative approach. I think maybe that is the most important message that has to go. It is not vitamin C or vitamin D or any supplements alone. It has to be integrated scientifically with medicine, modern medicine, and any other scientific medicine that we follow. I think
Karuna,
with this,
we have.
Thank you.
Yeah, please.
These 2 points, in fact, this is the clarification I wanted. When you said you are giving kidney and liver support, you know, that makes enormous sense, because lots of times people have heard them saying that they might actually cause calcification or whatever, you know.
Right, yeah.
Karuna, there is one more thing. We try to look at something called the G6PD enzyme. And if you have normal G6PD enzyme, there is no hemolysis and all that. We normally, before going for high dose vitamin C, we try to screen that particular G6PD. Karuna, there are some other people also who are interested in talking. One is Dr. Paramjit Kaur, all the way from Malaysia. Paramjit, are you here? Okay. There are a few other people. Dr. Ushi Mohandas, Dr. Firozi Mehta, she is a homeopath from Mumbai. And Dr. Mehta, would you like to add any of the kind of things? Because we believe in a kind of integration. It is, we are not really interested in what has, is it the homeopathy or is it the allopathy which has helped? The final patient should benefit from our allopathies. It's not the thing.
Yeah, hello everybody. I'm just a learner here most of the time, and I'm really pleased to be on this integrative medicine group. But yeah, COVID has taught us, and thanks to Dr. Anande, we see that vitamin C, I have not used it in IV form at all, but I try to tell every patient who is diagnosed with COVID to up the oral vitamin C as much as they can, so long as they are at home, and they can do it. And I do find that even as a precautionary measure, if they feel at all that they have been exposed or whatever, if they have about even 10 grams of vitamin C through the day, it probably is having some protective effect. And this is what we follow even in my family. And only thing is that so many patients or relatives who have been hospitalized, there is great resistance. We find that the doctors are not ready to accept that, you know, higher dose vitamin C should be done. Most of the time they say that we don't know if it will have any benefit, and this is what we use. So they only seem to use about 1 gram or, you know, maximum 2 grams a day, which is rather disheartening, because then when somebody needs hospital support, but then you wonder whether they will not do vitamin C, then they may not even get that little bit of vitamin C which you are giving orally. So once they are in the hospital, you know, the risks and benefits are, we're not sure what is the right decision. Keep them at home and give them oral vitamin C, or send them to hospital and give them, you know, they don't get vitamin C at all. So that is one thing. That's all I can say, that I'm really glad to be here, and it's been a learning experience. Thanks a lot.
Karuna, we have one more, basically Pratiksha is here. She is
Dr. Praveen?
Yes.
This is Dr. Ushi here. I will just say a sentence.
Come on. We thought you are going to motivate all of us.
No, I'm not just motivational. I'm pretty much in the business of research. And first of all, I think a lot of us have been saying a lot of things.
Karuna, Ushi is a very good motivational speaker, by the way. You should hear her. Yeah, go ahead, Ushi.
Yeah, so Karunaji, I'm a lot more than that. I've been the dean of a medical school and I've been into research for the last 42 years. So let me make one thing very clear here, that the one thing that we can all decide on this forum, instead of just saying that I had this experience, somebody else had this experience, these are stories. The evangelists for integrated medicine are very few. And the evangelists are not obviously strong enough. Now, I come from an allopathy background, but I practice a combination of everything. So my entire request to everyone is, we are sure that vitamin C alone cannot do good, and vitamin C is not going to cause any damages. So like Dr. Srikumar said, I mean, why don't the doctors here just get down to a written protocol and push that ahead instead of stories? Because at the end of the day, all of them get too confusing for the decision makers. And sadly speaking, policy is very different from stories. And if we really need something coming in, I think we got to back it up with solid evidence. If not, it's just a story. And that's all my take is. Because I strongly believe that vitamin C cannot cause you any problems. Neither can vitamin D. And whatever is being used also, there are patients without using anything who are alive and doing good. And there are patients who are using it and doing good. So the clear differentiation of adding something to an existing protocol has to be made very clear to people who are listening to it, and back it up by good evidence, because otherwise without evidence, it's just another story. And we have plenty stories out there. We've got garlic under the tongue, onion in the underarm, having cow's milk, gomutra, hundreds of things which come by. I mean, as a scientist, I would not subscribe to the fact that because it helped me, it should help everybody. I mean, that's like going back into something very primitive. We need to talk about something which is very evidence-based. We have a lot of doctors here who are giving evidence. How about consolidating all of it? How about proving that all of this in a study might take 6 months or 3 months, and then bring on a protocol? Otherwise, it's pointless, because it's a lot of investment of time. So thank you, Dr. Saxena. Thank you, Karunaji, for listening. And thank you to all my friends who are here. Big hello to all of you.
Yeah, I'd like to ask Pratiksha because she has done a lot of work on medical research. What are the things, Pratiksha, you can see, and how we can take the things forward? I'm talking in terms of documentation and all.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Saxena, for giving me this opportunity. I'm sorry, I think I'm the youngest over here, but nonetheless, that doesn't make anything wrong. What I personally believe, what happened in the COVID era is the disease was mismanaged. The whole idea of understanding what has gone into causing the disease, what are the symptoms, and how it is progressing was not very understood. We had a huge number of deaths coming in, till we had a lot of patients doctors going hands-on on the patient. So the deaths were actually a cause of the mismanagement that went into the disease. To understand the disease and to find a solution and to point out and say that the allopathic route is better, or the Ayurvedic is better, or the homeopathy is better, or an integrated approach is better. I think, like how Dr. Ushi mentioned, that we need to have it as an evidence-based system. What we are all quoting over here are studies that have been done in other countries, and studies that have happened in different institutes, but nothing as what has been done from the Indian perspective, where we have a mixed population, a lot of diversity, genetic diversity, a lot of diversity in terms of the eating habits, the sleeping habits. There's a huge discrepancy of data that comes when it comes from the Indian population. So I believe that neither ICMR or any private agency or any government agency in India has taken up the task of validating the efficacy of vitamin C or any other nutritional supplement on a research basis and giving it a solid proof evidence to show that it works. So unless and until you do it on your population and you give data for your population, it is very difficult to convince the government agencies to make it as a part of the routine protocol. That's one aspect. So second aspect, what I feel is that if you are going to look at the disease, it has to be looked holistically. We have to look at we have to also look at the symptoms of the patients that are coming, which is more or less common as we've categorized them. But we have to also go down to the genetic level and the molecular level to understand what is actually happening in these patients, the data of which we don't have right now. So if you want to really go to the root cause of the disease and the disease management, it is mandatory that you know what is happening at the genetic and the molecular and the proteomic level in most of these patients. Whatever we've been doing, whatever categorization we've been doing of the patients is majorly on the data that we get from the blood profile or the HRCT scan reports or maybe the chest X-ray reports. We don't know what are the other biochemical parameters that are really getting altered or what are happening at the molecular level to these patients. And we can't really come down to one common cause of, okay, this is where the disease is initiating, or this is the place from where the disease is progressing. And because of this, the patients are getting worse or they're getting better. So we don't have those checkpoints. We are not able to categorize. When we say that people are taking alternative medicines, they're taking vitamin C and they're becoming all right, we don't know that what they're doing other than vitamin C. Are they also working out? Are they also on other supplements? Are they also on dietary interventions? Are they having comorbidities or not? Do they have a medical history of any genetic disorders or anything related to autoimmune diseases? We have no such data to back up and to put a standfall and say that, okay, it is the vitamin C that is causing the miracle of why the patients are recovering and why they're becoming better or worse. So I would, on my personal aspect, I had 9 COVID patients in my house, and all the 9 patients are recovered only because of vitamin C and ozone therapy. I did not put them on any allopathic medicine. It was purely curcumin, vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, ozone, and that's it. And all these patients ranging right from 12 years to 68 years have recovered in my family. So it was age. I saw that the gradation was very different because there was age factor involved. I saw the gradation was really different. The response was very different because there was comorbidities involved. My father was diabetic, so he responded very late. The dosage that was given to him was very different. My mother had other complications, so dosage given to her was very different. I was healthy, so the dosage given to me was very different. So if you are going to make a standard protocol, or if you want to put it as a protocol through an ICM or through a regulatory agency, I think it is very important that we have all this data, which has a complete spectrum of the understanding of the disease and what are the factors, key contributing factors that go into disease mitigation and disease treatment protocol. So unless and until we all as doctor community sit down and, like very rightly said, consolidate our data on various aspects, on environmental aspects, on the health aspects, on qualitative aspects, and the genomic proteomic aspects, we'll not be able to stand and say very confidently that this is the therapy that is treating COVID, or this is the way the disease, or any disease for that matter, not only COVID, can be treated. And I believe the reason why I promote vitamin C and I promote ozone therapy is they are the treatment protocols which have minimum side effects. So when we say that you have 10 ways of treating a disease, you have to take a protocol which has minimum side effects. And vitamin C and ozone therapy and zinc supplements and other supplements are the ones, because they have very limited side effects, or at least not reported till now, harmful effects. So we, I think, have to have a very integrated, holistic, cumulative, inclusive approach towards formulating vitamin C into a treatment protocol, which is lacking in this country.
Can I make
Isha, it was, yeah. Karuna, you'd like to add anything? We have a host of different people here. There is a cardiothoracic surgeon also wants to talk here.
One question.
Yeah.
One question. When you want to, go by the data, then how long would you require to aggregate the data? Use what is the sample size? What approximately, what would be the timeline that you would come out with something, a proven protocol, or let's say vitamin C works? So I was asking Pratyusha.
Yeah. So I think if we have to have a very systematic study, if we are not supposed to initiate any study and go by as per the data that doctors already have, I think within a span of 2 months, if everybody is
So
cooperative and is,
why don't we work on that? Because now one
yeah,
question.
we should.
Yeah, I think. See,
No,
as it is-
ma'am, that's not really possible. For two reasons. Because when you are going to go by what Dr. Pratiksha just mentioned, you need to go through investigations before and after. When you're doing a study, not everybody does the same investigations. Patients take their own decisions to do these investigations. So if you want a study like that, it has to be well funded, and and every patient has to go. The control arm as well as the arm that has vitamin C, both have to go through the same tests, and they have to go through the same tests afterwards to show you the effect. It cannot be retrospective. That means what I have already done, I don't put together. Retrospective, we have got tons of data. Retrospective doesn't stand with ICMR. There are tons of studies available for ICMR to do that. Vitamin C has been studied all across the world.
So Dr. Lenny, won't it be too late if we...
Sorry, ma'am, I didn't hear that.
Yeah. So Dr. Lenny, won't it be too late to institute a study like this? By then COVID as it is has started coming down. So, we will water down the every effort of ours. So there must be some artful way. Like for instance,
so the only way that ICMR does is most medications in this country have been introduced when there are international studies available. You introduce the medication first, and then because you have introduced the medication, then you give permission or you ask for a study to be done in the country over the next 2 years. That is how all medications have come into this country. So there are enough, even today, there are enough studies. Most ICUs today have started using 50 grams of vitamin C in an ICU for sepsis. Why? Because there are international studies. There are no studies in India. There are international studies available. So if you're using it in sepsis, why can't you use it in COVID? What stops ICMR to give it in COVID when you're using it in sepsis?
These should ideally be the arguments to present, because by the time you go through this elaborate study and collect data,
that is what I'm saying.
Yeah. So because in computer science, I think we use this concept called fuzzy logic. There is data, but still.
So I would like to just say something over here. I would just like to intervene. The reason why I'm saying is that let's work on the retrospective data is, at least on the retrospective data, we will have an understanding as to what are the parameters which are critical for evaluating the efficacy of vitamin C. So at least we will have certain data to present, which is hardcore data, which is not just verbal talks like how we are doing right now, or documented data. It will be proper reports of biochemical tests done, of the HRCT reports done, of the scoring done. Let it be retrospective, but at least let us have it tabulated to show that in these many patients, the biochemical profiles have improved in such a way. It is because of the vitamin C intervention. And ICMR would rather believe that, even though it is retrospective. I'm not asking you to generate new data. We are running short on time on that aspect. Plus, the recovery rates have gone so high, we may not even get that kind of a patient load right now to do the clinical trials. So, retrospective data, statistically analyzing it just to authenticate the fact that vitamin C has worked very well on these patients, because these are the parameters that have been influenced. Because definitely all of us must have done some homework on pre and post treatment to understand that the patient has improved. We've not only gone on the qualitative data that the patient says, okay, I'm feeling better, so you're now COVID negative. So there must be something like serum ferritin levels, serum creatinine levels, leukocyte counts, or such kind of data. Let's put it down.
Yeah. Pratiksha, there is a doctor here who has already done more than 650 cases of that. This was Dr. Venugopal. Karuna, we had shared that data with you also last time.
Exactly.
He has done a good kind of correlation and studies and all that.
Sir, may I come in?
Yeah,
May I come in?
Just give a minute. So what happens is that we are not keeping that 600. If Venugopal is here, that data, it should not go into the drain. Karuna, I think you should. This is. Hello. Yeah. I must tell Dr. Millie also has joined just now. Dr. Millie Shah, very good evening to you. And can you just share what exactly you are working with this Ozone Forum of India? And we have our Karuna Gopalji is going to, she's trying to understand. And the fact we have met together here is we just wanted to not just talking about how many cases we have done and all that. From here, what we can do further collectively. Millie, can you have, are you there?
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
please.
Can you hear me, Dr.
Yeah. You
yeah,
joined quite
wonderful.
late. Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I had some 2-3 urgent calls. Yes, tomorrow. Thank you for organizing.
Please.
This is a wonderful work. With ozone therapy, we have done 2 CTRI registered clinical trials where we were treating mild, moderate, and borderline severe cases. We were giving them rectal and minor auto, and also ozonated saline as a adjuvant therapy along with standard of care. So we didn't stop standard of care, but we added ozone therapy, and we saw that we can limit the cytokine storm. We saw the great reduction in ferritin levels, D-dimer, also the LDH. We saw the early the negativity. So RT-PCR was negative by the 5th day of the treatment in one trial. And also after this successful completion of these 2 trials, they are
What
for
time
the
are going
publication.
tomorrow?
They are under publication, under the review of the Elsewhere and the PubMed journals. But what I have seen is these 2 hospitals then used ozone therapy for all the patients from ICU to the ward patients who wanted to do it. It's a consented therapy. We saw the great acceptance. People were very, very positive about it, and it showed very good the patient compliance also. Patients were not progressing to ICU if the ward patients were given ozone therapy at right time. So ideally you should do it in the macrophage phase, and so that you reduce the cytokine storm, and you balance the hyper cytokine,
Millie, I think one of your publication has already appeared. I have seen that. And again, hats off to you, your perseverance. Karunaji, this is one thing these people are trying to document. And we have a young researcher from Hyderabad, Dr. Ananta Krishna. And Jagdish, thanks for arranging everything. I somehow it is Jagdish came quite late. Ananta, what do you have your thoughts on documentation and all that?
Yeah, actually, thank you for the invitation and all. So I'll get to that later. First, let me say this. We have lost the plot, I think, 7 months ago. There should have been a huge autopsy study that should have been conducted. Because why I say this, I even messaged Karuna ma'am personally also. This is because, see, the only paper that is there is New England Journal of Medicine, Ackerman et al. That came out, I think, in May. So that gave the entire idea to the world that what is happening with COVID. That is angiogenesis and, because they have only compared 7 lungs of COVID, 7 lungs of ARDS with influenza, H1N1, and 7, I think 10 control. I have that paper in front of me. So that has got 271 citations. So everybody are citing that paper. So that is the only thing we have. And all the subsequent studies that came that, okay, it causes cytokine storm, or it causes, of course, people did think that it is causing cytokine storm and all, but what is causing that cytokine storm and what are the subsequent effects of that cytokine storm, what is happening is basically, it was given by that paper. So after they did all the immunohistochemical analysis, computated tomography, scanning electron microscopy, and etc. etc. So it is causing microthrombi. That is the major thing. So the only thing that can target is that then people understood, okay, we need to give nitric oxide. That is the only way. Yeah. Apart from nitric oxide, there is no other way. That is the reason why WHO said no drug works. So that is the reason why I'm not giving my own example that my grandmother, she is a cancer patient, how she got COVID and she came out of it. That is because of L-arginine and Dr. Saxena sir's protocol and Gauri sir's protocol. That is one thing. My mother, who does not have any comorbidity, she got much severe compared to an active cancer patient. I kept them on ashwagandha rishta, and I kept them. I think I was using Septilin since February, so I was very prudent since beginning. So I identified if it is causing some kind of respiratory disorder. Then I got the authentication from Dr. Ushi Mohandas that Septilin works. So because it has Tinospora cordifolia. What all these things do is that, and apart from that, cod liver oil, because everybody are focusing on increase your immunity, which is disastrous. It's not increasing the immunity. It is modulating your immunity. Because if you increase your immunity, otherwise all the thing that you get is cytokine storm. So you need to modulate it. So that's where N3 comes in. EPA, DHA, that's where those two things come in. So you consume flaxseed, you consume cod liver oil or whatever. So there are various things apart from vitamin C, vitamin D, melatonin, everything has its own mode of action. Apart from that, increase your nitric oxide production. Nitric oxide is ashwagandha. That is, even Ministry of Ayush has said that use ashwagandha and Tinospora. And sorry for the bad audio quality, I mean, video quality, but then yeah, ashwagandha and Tinospora cordifolia and L-arginine, anything that increases your nitric oxide. So Anandi sir will agree with me. He was the one, so that is herbal Viagra. So that is again causing the same thing. So he was very ecstatic. But so we should have done the autopsy study, and we still don't have an autopsy study. Well, let me give you an example with the vaccine thing, why US is not accepting the vaccine. These are vaccine that UK has accepted. Now 5 people have got Bell's palsy. That is very problematic. 2 people have died in US. And now US FDA is not approving because they have not done across the, as Miss Pratiksha said, across the spectrum of, say, different, there are Hispanics, there are Caucasians, there are Asian, all those different people. So they are not accepting. I've just read an article that FDA is not accepting.
Ananta, sorry to interrupt you.
Dr. Saxena.
Let's not discuss about vaccines. Vaccine will be
No. I'm just giving an example. I'm giving an example that
this is
I'm just giving
all of us will be sued, man. Don't talk about vaccine right now.
No. Just hold on a minute. Listen to me. What I'm trying to say. See,
I know.
FDA has stopped. Yeah, FDA has stopped because that kind of cross-spectral study has not been done. Same thing with India also. Even with the medication, why there is a 93% recovery rate now? How many people are using masks? Less than 30%. People are not taking care of their health or anything. No, you forget physical distancing. That is not in human nature. So forget that. So despite Prime Minister sir saying, oh, we need wear whatever
Ananta,
you want.
Ananta, when we started, Anandi was Dr. Anandi was telling we don't want one single death also.
Yeah,
7% is
but
too huge.
There are 100,000 deaths which are unfortunate.
Yeah,
they will be
absolutely.
there. They will be there, and some people will have
We-
long COVID. They are reality.
See, even if we are able to save one life, it's a achievement. We have Dr. Anand Agarwal also with us. He's a cardiothoracic surgeon. I don't know how, there is a different spectrum of people here. Anand, are you here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anand, can you just? I know, you have been working on this second wave and all that. Anand is into the forefront of. He's working on something. Anand, he's a cardiothoracic surgeon. He's one of my junior, but he's more smarter than me here.
Okay, guys, I have been following your discussion right from the beginning, and I must congratulate Mrs. Karuna Gopal, Praveen, and all the team. Fantastic, actually. I fully agree with what all you have been doing, and hearty congratulations. Actually, I'm a cardiac surgeon, and basically I was not into treating COVID patients directly, but because I have an experience of preventive care. I run a campaign called Save the Young Heart, and we do a lot of activities in preventing coronary artery disease in the young. So when this COVID thing started, I wanted to do something about prevention. Actually, so what we did is initially, because the fear element was so much, we made some videos and all that to allay the anxiety of the people. Basically, in April, May, June, it was the fear element which was killing more people than actual disease. Then we got an opportunity to work with Agarwal Samaj of Telangana, where we formed a group of around 10 doctors and we were treating patients up to them requiring oxygen. I was fully discouraging use of home oxygen, and so many thousands of patients we treated at home. So now actually I want to talk a different perspective that, yes, treating COVID when it happens is one thing, but most important thing is to prevent COVID. And when the second wave is round the corner and the way people are mixing with each other and everything, and I'm seeing a trend in our hospital, in AIG, and in our own Telangana forum which we run, there is an increased requirement of advice and plasma therapy coming up. So actually we need to do a lot of work on prevention. And let me just share a few things. Actually, what my cornerstone, three cornerstone of treatment for prevention, apart from lifestyle modification, was actually I was actively encouraging use of steam inhalation with a pinch of turmeric twice a day, and Jalneti, which is an anterior nasal wash, which at least once a day once you come from work, and warm saline gargle. So this was the three things, apart from vitamin C, vitamin D supplementation, which are very potent antioxidant. Which I have been advocating. So my request is your group and we all work together how to mitigate this, a second wave. Okay, I don't want to take much of your time, and thanks a lot, Pravinji, for giving me an opportunity to speak.
Yeah, Karuna, it is your turn now. I think you have been listening to different kind of things, and somewhere as individual doctors, we tend to go into our limit only. We have 12 patients or 15 patients, but as a group, now we believe we have all of them started treating some. See, as rightly said, it is the immune modulation which has to be required. It's not it is not decreased immunity as being told in the public. You increase your immunity by adding some things. It's not that. The immune system gets off balance. You have a Th1, Th2 imbalance, and we have been working. Karuna, you have seen us working for autism and other stuff. It's a slightly tricky game when we work on this particular stuff. But I think we have taken enough of your time, and I want closing comments from you. I am definitely looking forward. All of these people which we have joined today are really assets. They can work on some kind of things, and I definitely want Dr. Venugopal's data, which has some kind of relevance here, and this data can be taken forward. And because Dr. Venu doesn't speak much, he tries to give it to others. He has a complete kind of thing. We will always share all that stuff with you, Karunaji. And
may I just wanted to say something, Dr. Saxena, if you allow me?
Please, Billy.
Yeah. Sorry, I just joined a little late, but ozone therapy we've given to more than 400 patients in Neurogen Hospital and more than 320 patients in Lokmanya Hospital, which is in Pune. We did work with our own employees, which are Bisleri employees, for prevention. So we did something called minor auto on them for 6 to 7 times, which is called auto vaccination. So we take your own blood and you re-inject that blood along with ozone. This improves the immunoglobulins globulins of the inert. So innate immunity improves, and we observe them for 5 months. So these people, 320 employees who were given this therapy, were observed for 5 months, and we saw only 2% of them got COVID, and they were also very, very asymptomatic. So it happened so that they had to travel and they got tested, and that's how we came to know that they were COVID positive. So this was also a very promising work, that before vaccination or before anything substantial comes, this is a simple 5 rupee injection. If you have an ozone machine, you really don't require anything besides a 10 ml syringe. and 2 needles. That's all you require. You need oxygen, and it's like can be done. We did 320 employees within 3 to 4 hours. So imagine how fast you can do it. So it's not
Yes,
really
Lily,
you require.
I fully agree with that. I motivated my staff to be all the time during this COVID, and all of them were given injection Arastol and minor ozone.
Yes,
So
yes,
hats
sir.
off to ozone and all the things. Yeah, Karuna,
So
you would like to?
I feel
Yeah,
it will be good way of preventing, you know, the further spread or further also infection.
sure. It's a very simple thing, Karuna.
Thank you.
It is.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So thank you everyone for these insights that you gave me today. I think each one made very valid points and points that perhaps were different, but when you aggregate those, you will make a very strong case for administering heavy doses of vitamin C. And as I see it, I'm very hopeful. I listened to Dr. Sudha, so let's wait for that short window of time. We have like 7 to 10 days. While that gets ready, maybe all of us who've had our experiences, like I just heard, starting with Dr. Digambar Nayak, Dr. Lalite, all of you have given treated patients. You yourself have conquered COVID. It's important to put together your experiences. And Dr. Venugopal Gauri, we as a family are beneficiaries of his treatment, and Dr. Saxena too. I mean, together you have done miracles, and perhaps that's the reason why I'm here. So if you can aggregate that data, each one of you can supply the data right now, what we have, and we'll aggregate that. And a few of us might want to travel to Delhi and make a presentation, because as I see it, vaccine today is we still have to wait, and I doubt if it's going to really redeem us. So they will be more open to a protocol which is perhaps more curative. You know, there we're talking about preventive protocol, but here it's more curative. People are already infected and we are pulling them out quickly. So they might be a little open to the idea. And since the risk factor is very less, you know, I mean, every point made by, let's say, Dr. Lenny or Dr. Chopra, I mean, everything has an enormous amount of value. So the first thing what we should do now is to get data, whoever has been working, be it qualitative and be it quantitative. Because I have seen situations where in disaster management, like in a country as huge as India with more than 1.3 billion people, you know, you cannot really do empirical studies and wait for that, especially for a megadose of, you know, a nutritional supplement, let's say, you know, which has absolutely no side effects. So we should be able to push the agenda forward. And in cases where disasters happen, they don't wait for huge data to crunch data and use, you know, modeling tools and techniques. But I have seen in computer science, there is what we call as fuzzy logic, you know. So it follows a protocol, a heuristic way of working, artful way of solving problems. So I think this is what we should make a case for. And I'll try my best, maybe representing all of you. You're all technical experts, but I can lead the delegation. We go to Delhi, make a case for it, and let's see how this can be implemented. And I'm hopeful that if not at a national level, maybe Uttar Pradesh, like a Yogi Adityanath, will be certainly open to taking this up and implementing, because there are some of the states are extremely agile. They're very agile, they are experimentative, and they understand that agility is the key in solving these problems. And as the young scientist Vemuri was saying, you know, some very important things have been left out, like for instance, the autopsies. And I think, was it Dr. Anandi who talked about Italy having gone ahead and having done it? So a lot to do, a lot more to do, but your collective work in putting vitamin C as an agent for giving a cure to COVID has to be taken forward. And I don't see a great reason for resistance. And Dr. Sri Kumar very beautifully said that lack of funding. I think funding is a major problem that it's been seeing. But right now, let's not really wait for anything. We'll put in our efforts. And as I said, in a situation like this, they can't wait for empirical, studies or huge data or huge modeling tools. We need to go ahead and try and convince. I'll do my bit. I'm not a leader yet, but I can put forth my ideas and I can create pathways. I can create pathways for accepting this particular protocol, which is actually saving lives. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Karuna. And it has been a wonderful kind of thing. And your encouragement means a lot for all of us. It is because whatever we have been starting, we have been working is into bits and pieces. And it is when we have seen how Dr. Digambar has come out with this particular thing, it has given us a lot of confidence, and the people have worked at different levels. And this is something I need to we will try to go ahead. We'll try to we'll keep a kind of thing, and I'll be sending you a recorded video of this particular thing. And let's keep doing this kind of activity.
Dr.
And I know
Saxena.
you are always at the forefront. And today morning also I was talking about that Eluru kind of this one, what is being that mystery disease. And I'm sure all of us will be interested in, because there is called a heavy metal toxicity exposure, which has resulted into this particular problem. And thanks a lot for giving that 2 hours. And definitely, Karuna, with your schedule, we know 2 hours, what this 2 hours mean thing. And again, I don't want to thank individually everyone, because all of them are our friends. And
Dr. Saxena, can I speak for a minute?
And last word is this: Dr. Jagdish he came late actually. He's the main architect. He met me and I saw him, the kind of spark he has got. And he says, you people should start doing something, because all the time I was not thinking about all this stuff. When Saji discussed, we had Saji, we have Lalit and all that. So we thought, let us do something for this. So Pratiksha, you wanted to talk something?
Yeah. I just wanted to just add one thing that Ms. Karuna had talked about accumulating the data. I'm not a medical person, so I don't have data. But yeah, as my support, if the doctors can share the data, I can try to make a logical understanding of what the parameters look like and what are the influencing factors and what kind of modulations we have seen based on the treatment protocol given to the patient, and make a logical conclusion of how vitamin C has helped in improving the parameters of the patients. So I don't have data, but yeah, data accumulation and data interpretation is something that I can offer from my side. So if everybody is okay and if they can share the pre and post treatment data with me, I'll try to make a report out of it and submit it to you as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you. I think that's a great offer. Sounds good. Yeah. So
So we'll conclude. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, Karuna, please.
Thanks to Dr. Saji. I mean, he's been in touch, and he started it very well. And I just saw he's from ISRO, and what a great composition of doctors with from multiple locations you have come, and with his specialties. I think it's a great group, and I think collective effort is required, and we'll try to make a case for it, which I'm sure, let's hope, given it is a very a generous offer from all of you, it should fly. So I take leave at that time. Namaste.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Dr. Saxena, you were saying something?
Nothing much, Karuna. I think we need that kind of thing. We have seen you working for different kind of things. You have been always a front runner for when it comes to policy making, and you used to talk about toxicity and big kind of thing. And with that, we were able to do that toxicity in the city program, and it was you were the torchbearer about that particular stuff. And again, you are already a leader, Karuna. You are not in the process of becoming, you are already a leader. And we are looking forward, and we can whatever things are there, as Dr. Pradiksha and other people have done, they can be always of good help, because as a clinicians, when we look into clinics, we are not very good at documentation. We definitely like to use Pratikshas and other people's thing. And let's meet sometimes once we'll see, we'll try to focus.
We should work on it as a mission mode, because it's very important now. There's very less time, and whatever you have is good enough. So we'll try to compile that with her help and make a case for it and go there. And Dr. Digambar Naik is a testimony. I mean, being an allopathic doctor, and he is actually starting a treatment, and he actually said that he survived COVID only categorically because of vitamin C treatment. I mean, that itself is a great testimony. So I think we have enough case for it.
Thank you, Karuna. Thanks a lot. Thanks, everyone.
Fine. Namaste to all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dr. Saxena, are you there?
I don't see him, ma'am. I think he's gone.
Oh, okay. Fine. Hi, Lenny.
Hi.
How are you? God, you've lost so much weight.
Yeah, COVID.
COVID? No, but vitamin C rocks, no?
It saved me also.
No, yeah, true. You did you take ozone too?
No, I didn't get a chance to do that.
In the hospital?
No. I was I treated myself at home.
Oh, okay. Wonderful. Okay, thank you. See you all. Bye.
Bye-bye, everyone. I'm closing the Zoom now. Feel free to leave.